Welcome back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. Thank you for joining us again this week. We're glad that you're out there. We're glad there are people like you that are interested in the issues that are happening in the cities and Northwest Community Television's viewing area. It's important for good government for there to be a back and forth of information between the staff in the city council, and the mayor, and the people that live in the city. So we're glad you're interested. If you haven't watched our show before, each week we'll have somebody on from one of the 9 cities in our viewing area that'll talk about what are the current issues going on in that city. And if you live in that city, be sure to write down their name, their email, and their phone number, so if it's an issue that really concerns you, you can get back to them. And from time to time, we'll have areas that affect all of our cities. So we're glad that you're with us tonight. And we're very happy tonight to welcome to our program John Elder, who's on the New Hope City Council. That's my city council. So we're very glad to have you with us as a return guest.
Thank you very much, Juanita.
We appreciate people taking the time to share what's happening in the cities with all of our audience out there.
It's important to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. And so I will ask you, because there's probably some people out there that don't know you from the other cities, to just give a little background information about yourself and your time in New Hope and on the council.
You bet. In 2008, we had a council member move out of the city. So he, Steve Summers, resigned from the council, and I went through an interview process along with 9 other individuals, vying for this spot. I was accepted onto the council, appointed, and served on the council for about 6 months. I was able to then run for that seat in an open election, finished 2 years of the remaining seat. I then won in 2010, I won a 4-year seat, and then in 2014, the voters were kind enough to elect me to another 4-year seat. So I'm currently the Public Information Officer for the Minneapolis Police Department. I'm married, have 3 adult children, and we've lived in New Hope since 1988.
So you've seen a lot of changes happening in our city.
Absolutely, absolutely. I used to be a police officer for the city of New Hope. So it's very near and dear to my heart.
Okay, another topic that comes up, and it has come up in several cities, in fact, I think it's come up in New Hope before, is the whole issue of single hauler trash service.
Yes.
And so recently the city council discussed it, and I think it was a headline article in the Post, right?
It was.
On what that is. For people that don't know what it means when you say single hauler trash service, I'll let you describe.
You bet. Currently in New Hope, we have 8 licensed haulers. So we have really 17 trucks going up and down our streets on a specified day of the week. Each company has a garbage pickup. During the summer, they have a lawn refuse pickup. And then we have our one recycling vehicle pickup. So that's 17 large trucks going up and down our streets. And the big concern is that's a lot of wear and tear on our streets. It is.
And so give me both the pros and the cons, because you had both of them coming up at your meeting.
Oh yeah, and when I got onto council, I brought up this issue.
Right.
And boy, did I get phone calls. And I love phone calls. I mean, I love to hear from people on what their thoughts are. Overwhelmingly, people said, leave it alone. Do not do this. I want to do my own negotiating. I want my own company to do this. This is not Russia. I'll make this decision. Okay. That's one side to it. The other side to it is I used to be a commercial vehicle officer. And one of my jobs was to pull over vehicles and weigh them. And the amount of damage that is done to our roads by these really heavy vehicles, and many of these heavy vehicles driving up and down our roadways, causes deterioration of our roadways prematurely. Now, what we've asked the State Patrol commercial vehicle inspectors and our officers that are commercial vehicle officers to really look at what these trucks are doing, what their weights are, all of that. And it's pretty easy to tell without even weighing them. Squash on the tires, what their loads are set at, etc. And we've really asked for that sort of enforcement. And we told the trash companies, we're going to start doing this because we don't want you overweight. We want to preserve our roads, etc. And they were great. So that's the other side to it.
Okay.
I will tell you that our trash service was up this year. And my wife called and negotiated a substantial savings with a different company. And again, I don't know if a single hauler would have given that to us.
Yeah, I suppose probably not.
And
but if there's the competition part, right?
Right. And you look at this and you say, well, then the single hauler is going to really bring their prices down to get all of the business in New Hope. I don't know, but what I can tell you is that as a councilman, I understand, yes, I have an opinion. Everybody has an opinion. But I was elected by the citizens of New Hope. And it is my job to vote the way that we believe the majority of the citizens feel. And I have voted for things that I have personally disagreed with. And I've always said, you know what, personally, I'm opposed to this. However, it's very clear to me that the majority of people that I've spoken to are absolutely positively in support of this. For that reason, I cast my vote this way. I think the citizens deserve the explanation.
Oh, right, I agree.
And I also think people need to understand that that's what you want your council member to do. And again, I think I owe it to the folks that were kind enough and gracious enough to elect me that they get that kind of honesty.
And it is one that no matter what city it's coming up in, it does have that a rather overwhelming response.
Oh, yeah. Oh, as I said, this was one of the largest feedback things I'd dealt with here in New Hope. People were whipped up about it. And it was kind of neat to see, actually. Because it showed people cared.
Then let's move on to the Park and Recreation Department.
Fun.
That New Hope has a process for deciding when play equipment could be replaced. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit so people can understand that.
Yeah. In my previous life, I worked for a playground company. So I'm really well versed on this. And as the ASTM, which are the standards that are used to make rules for playgrounds, as the they make rules for a lot of things. Playground is one division. As the ASTM comes forward and it makes these rules about playground, you start looking at the current state of our playgrounds. And you're like, yeah, we're grandfathered in. But the first chance we make, or the first time we make any substantial changes to this park, all the rules now come into play. And so when we redo a park, we have to completely redo it. Additionally, our Park and Recs department, along with our Public Works, has gone through each of our parks, done monthly inspections, and they're swapping things out that aren't meeting ASTM standards. So all of our parks are very safe. Some are exceptionally old, but they're very safe. And that's what's helped us keep in very good with the League of Minnesota Cities, who insures us. And it really explains why we have so few liability claims against the city.
And then you've set up a progression of when you'll handle each different park.
We are on a CIP program for when parks get rotated out. Our parks last between 22 and 25 years.
Oh, that sounds like good service.
That's incredible service. And they really, they take a lot of great wear. And but when it comes time, we redo it and we redo it properly. Now, you mentioned how this gets done. New Hope has such a neat way of doing this. So many cities, they'll say like, okay, well, Bayesian Park, it's time to replace Bayesian Park. Here's what we're going to do. And they put out a request for proposal. They say, okay, we have $60,000 to spend on playground equipment. And each of the companies come in and they bring in the cheapest playground equipment they can, load it up, and try to sell it to the city that way. And the city, these cities look and they go, wow, this has 38 play events. That one has 24 play events. That one has, 38 play events. We're going to go with one of the most play events.
Wow.
When in fact, you look at it and you realize some of that stuff is really inferior product.
Okay.
And you look and you say, well, yes, whereas there are more play events, is there any sort of a pattern of play? Is it intergenerational? Will you be able to get grandparents on it with their grandchildren?
Lots of decisions.
Absolutely. And what New Hope does is they put out a questionnaire to all the homes in the area. What are you looking for?
Meadow Lake Park is the one that's currently up, right?
Correct,
Okay.
absolutely. And what happens is they went out and they put a survey out to the residents. Residents answered back. It lets them know how many kids they have, what age groups, what sort of things are important to them. Well, they get all that information, and then they hold a meeting of the citizens. And the citizens come in, and I'm lucky enough I get to sit on those board meetings as well, or the meetings with the citizens, and they bring in a particular playground vendor.
Okay.
We've been using Landscape Structures. They do a very nice job. And they have a really nice replacement program. So if something breaks, you can just replace that one item, and you don't have to worry about redoing the playground. So they listen to what, first of all, they take all the surveys, find out what people want. They come up with a plan. This is what we have. They bring in the citizens, and the citizens say, yeah, you know what, we like that. We don't want a tilt-a-whirl. We want more swings, and they kind of pick through it.
Kind of back and forth with ideas.
Yep. And we leave the meeting. Landscape Structures goes back. They redraw it, come back, and it's usually really good. And it's what they want, what the citizens want. The citizens are given a say in this.
Oh, right.
And in most cities, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And so the Park and Rec does a phenomenal job with that. It really is great community engagement, and our citizens benefit from that.
How long does that part of the process take?
About 3 to 5 months from the first survey going out to the last meeting, and then it goes to the council for approval.
Okay.
One of the last parks we did, we ended up adding in a piece. So that ended up being nice. Excuse me. So they added in an additional piece of play equipment, and we expect to have this done in the fall.
So where is the Meadow Lake Park renewal at in this process?
It's waiting for council. We're waiting to have it brought to us to the council. Assuming that it all looks right, which it certainly did from my standpoint, but I'm only one vote. The majority will approve or disapprove it, and if we do in fact approve it, we will get this ordered and into the ground yet this fall.
Yeah, I thought it's good for people to know how it happens, because it doesn't happen very often, especially if they last 20 to 22 years.
And New Hope has an incredible amount of parks, and we have a lot of parks that don't have equipment, but we have a lot of green space in our park area, and we do about one park a year. So,
now a whole different topic. The Metropolitan Council is putting plans in place for Thrive. I can't remember if it was 2030 or 2040. But anyway, plans for the future.
Yeah.
And part of that planning process is in terms of how much affordable housing different cities should have. Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center, Coon Rapids have some serious concerns about the process and are protesting it. So I thought I'll have all of our cities talk a little bit about what this is. First of all, do you know what the target is for New Hope for affordable housing?
Yes. First of all, we support that protest. They are saying that we should have 111 new affordable housing units in New Hope, and approximately 8,200 of the city's 9,000 housing units are considered affordable. That's 91% of our housing stock. For them to say we need 111 more is short-sighted, and really, I mean, they have a great idea. They have a great thought plan. However, what they're not taking into account is what's already here.
Ah.
And we have offered a similar petition to the Met Council as to the protest. And our position is that we have our fair share, if not more, currently of affordable housing.
Right.
So it's that's an area of concern for us. We like our mix, and we think that we've met the of what the desire of the council is.
So what kind of factors do you think are important in the consideration of this kind of issue?
Ask me that again, please.
Okay, what factors go into how many affordable housing any given city should have to have?
Availability of land,
Okay,
and how that land is marketed, the amount of homes that are what they believe to be considered affordable. So those are just three of the different
Right.
factors that come into play. And as we keep in mind, we're not building.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll be building with Centra,
right.
but we're not Plymouth. We're
Right.
not.
No, we don't have open space
Exactly.
in there, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So that's something that I don't think they've truly taken into account.
So is there any give and take on this process yet that you've heard of?
We hope so.
Okay,
Yeah, we do, and I think there will be. Enough of the cities are protesting it, challenging it, and raising real concerns that I don't believe this issue's over.
we'll tune into it later on.
Yes, and it probably won't be done quickly.
Right? Probably not. Right.
Yeah.
Now, there are considerations, and you mentioned it earlier, about a new city hall
Yeah.
for the city of New Hope.
Yeah.
What steps has the New Hope City Council taken in this regard up to this point?
Yeah, we authorized a study by Wold Architects,
Okay.
a use space needs assessment. In our police department is grossly undersized.
Okay.
We have continued to grow the police department to the needs of the community, and we have a current facility that is woefully inadequate physically,
Okay.
the physical plant. I remember when I was a detective in New Hope, I had to move my filing cabinet. And as I attempted to move it, I realized that in fact it was molded to the wall.
Oh.
Literally with mold.
Not good, not
no.
good.
So we have had mold challenges at the
Okay.
city. The heating and cooling system is deplorable.
Okay.
2 council meetings ago, we all would have been sitting in our T-shirts had that been acceptable. So the next council meeting, we came dressed appropriately, and we all should have been wearing parkas. It's
Right.
it cannot be regulated, and we have an inadequate layout and use space. We have empty offices where we don't need them.
Okay.
And whereas I understand there's always the fluctuation, the practice of the city hall and how we're doing business is different than it ever has been.
Okay.
And through cross training and doing all the right things, we've outgrown our current facility, and it's inadequate. The police department has no juvenile interview areas. When it comes time for us to actually interview somebody, we have to take them. We don't have what we consider a soft interview room back in the secure area. We actually have to take them to an area outside of that, which of course is a risk.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that are not good. We have officers that are multiple officers sharing a workspace. It's counterproductive.
So you got this information back from a consulting firm.
Yes.
Now you've set up a task force.
We have.
So maybe you can say who's on it,
You
and then
bet.
what did you charge them to do?
We have folks from each of our different cities' commissions,
Okay.
representatives from the business community, and different organizations. Our law enforcement representatives are there, and that's our crime prevention board. We have police reserves that live in the city, parents from our gymnastics
Okay.
program. I mean, we really have a very wide cross-section of people to be on this
Okay.
task force. And what we have tasked them with is to determine and make a recommendation to the council how we move forward. Do we remodel our current space?
Yeah.
Or do we build a new facility? I know what my vote is. However, I'm not on the task force,
Right,
so I don't get a vote. And so I applaud city staff for taking such a wide cross-section.
How many people?
I don't know the answer to
Okay.
that. Maybe 20
Okay.
is the number that comes to my mind. And really, by bringing that many people in,
Okay.
it forces discussion.
Oh, right.
And, you know, if you just took the people from the police department, well, we know how that would turn out, and it wouldn't take long. Or anyone from City Hall.
Right.
Again, same setup. But again, I applaud the city staff for doing that, to do it the way they did it, because it forces conversations, and you'll have people that'll disagree with each other.
Oh, sure.
And they will have, staff will be there to mediate it.
Okay.
And it's going to be really interesting to see. I would like this to happen while I'm on the council.
So what's the time frame for this task force?
I'm not aware of one.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
but
aware
but
of
it's
one.
it's just barely getting started, right?
It is,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, I think they're just going to be having their first meeting.
Okay.
Again, I wasn't invited to play.
But there's a lot of people putting their ideas and their thoughts together.
There are.
And then at some point, you're going to bring some proposals to the general public, I would assume.
Absolutely, absolutely. If we're going to end up bonding for this, people have to know what it is. And Mayor Hemken has really pushed, and it wasn't a hard push, for transparency. And this council is in lockstep with her on this. We're not just going to make a decision and do it. This is something we want, again, citizen input
Right,
on.
right.
We need community input. We want people to understand why we're doing what we're doing. We want their buy-in. And again, we're not just going to do it because we can.
Okay.
We feel we need people to understand why we're doing it.
Sure.
Again, and I've said it before, we're stewards of the people's money. And I look forward to seeing how this all turns out.
Now, have you heard any feedback from citizens in regards to this? Because there hasn't been a lot of publicity about it. A little bit when you were looking at proposals for where Hy-Vee is.
Correct.
Because that was part of it, but then...
Correct. And one of the things that we looked at was a mixed-use property with the school district.
Oh,
You know,
right,
we-
right.
we-
Oh, I
we
forgot
have
about that. Right.
We have a building that houses both City Hall and the school district. And we have a separate police department on the same area
right.
as that building. And so we went through, looked at it, and the school district said, you know what, this isn't the right thing for us at this
Right.
time. Respect that completely. And the nice thing is we can say, hey, we looked at it.
Right.
And there's nothing worse than saying, oh, we should have. We did. And we looked at it, and it's not going to work, and we parted ways, and, no issues, no hard feelings, at least we know.
Right.
So I've heard everything from why would you spend a dime in building a new facility to the place is a dump, redo it.
So this task force that's in place right now would be the place where citizens should send their input.
Absolutely, and we will be publicizing that information so that people can give their feedback. We'll have open houses, we'll have
Right.
listening sessions. There will be a lot of time put into this because this is a lot of money.
Right.
And it also, I believe, is a benefit to the city. Either way, if we
Right.
redo it, it's gonna be a benefit to the citizens. If we completely redo the building, if we get rid of the current one and redo the building as a whole, I think the energy efficiencies, I think the productivity efficiencies, I think all that is a huge benefit. But again, we'll leave that up to what people
Right.
believe.
Now, an issue that you've been involved with a lot, and it took a lot of city council time, was the West Metro Fire Department. So we
Yeah.
thought we'd just do a brief update on
Yeah,
what's happening there now.
things are great. I've been on the board, 3 or 4 years now. And we have Chief Sarah Larson.
Okay.
And she replaced our former chief, Scott Crandall. And Chief Larson has completely revamped the structure of the fire department. Chief Larson has been able to really get buy-in from the firefighters. And this new command staff, the new structure, is being well embraced. There's a transparency with her administration to not only her firefighters, but to the board they report to.
Right.
And as I said, I've been lucky enough to be on that board for 3 or 4 years. And our meetings are not acrimonious. We're able to, we have a board now that is most interested in moving the fire department forward. We have a board now that will allow a free exchange of information. We're able to disagree about things. It's not personal.
Right.
I don't win every vote I'm a part of, but I don't walk out of there angry. I never did.
Right.
However, it's a very functional setup right now, and there was a time, if everyone remembers correctly, where there was a talk of a dissolution of the agreement where we had between Crystal and New Hope. So we're exceptionally lucky that we were able to work through that, and it did take a lot of staff time.
It did. Well, it took a lot of council time too.
Yes, that's what I meant. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of council time. We had a lot of meetings. We brought in a mediator, Chad Weinstein.
Oh, he did such a good job.
He's an incredible individual.
It was interesting to watch that play out.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of emotion in it, and if you can subtract the emotion, the business decisions were clear.
Right.
Staying together was clearly the right thing to do. And if you can take the attitudes and you can take the pride, or you can take all that cannon fodder out of it, and you make the business decisions, it should have been a slam dunk. But there were attitudes. There was a lot of me in it, and that was detrimental. But Chad was able to open up those lines of communication, and we're doing fabulously. Very, very excited to remain on that board and to continue forward.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing all your thoughts and ideas with our audience out there. They know a lot more what's happening in New Hope.
Good.
And if it's an issue that really concerned you and you live in New Hope, be sure to take time to be in contact with John Elder. And if it's an issue that is in another city, find out what your city's doing and then follow up on it. Thank you for being with us, and join us again next week. Bye.